Hello everybody and welcome back to the Golf Chat Show Live. Today we have Jonathan Smart on the show, European Tour and PGA Tour caddy. Currently caddying for Rasmus HØJGAARD on the European Tour. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much.
How are you doing? Well, how are you doing on lockdown? I should probably word it better than that.
Yeah, good. We're getting into a bit of a routine now, so should be getting used to it now. So yeah, it's not been too bad. It's not been too bad.
I mean, you guys caddying, you're used to being away 30 plus weeks of the year, so this must be like proper torture for you.
Yeah, I think it's probably more for the wives and the girlfriends that still used to being able to send us on his way and not bother them. But yeah, it's been weird just being stuck in one place for so long instead of being here, there, and everywhere. But it's been nice. Obviously, a little bit different, getting into some routines and just having some nice time at home. But obviously, I think we'd all like to be back out there as soon as possible.
Sure. I mean, is Ian finished, isn't he? He's done a great thing for the caddies. I saw it's £129,000 now.
Yeah, he's done an unbelievable job, and obviously there's all sorts of people that are in tough situations at the minute with everything going on, but for him to look after the caddies and everything like that, and the money he's raised is unbelievable, and the support he's had from everyone, yeah, it's been fantastic. Fantastic.
I mean, I don't think he expected to obviously get as much as he has.
Yeah. I mean, he got, to be fair to him, he got some unbelievable prizes as well. It's not just, he's got some real special stuff for the people who entered, and yeah, it went down really well.
Class. So I want to start on this. You caddied for Danny Willett in 2016 at the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
Now Rory's said, you don't have to be too controversial, don't worry.
Yeah.
Rory's come out and said the Ryder Cup shouldn't go ahead without the fans because of the atmosphere. I mean, if you think of the first tee, to me that is like our version of like the Super Bowl, Champions League final, and the atmosphere is electric, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a weird one. You've got to remember the crowd's got a part to play in the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
We play an individual sport, and I've only caddied in one Ryder Cup, but and it was in America, but they do have a part to play, and I mean, Europe, we have some great support, obviously, and so do America. But yeah, I think it would be weird to play it without the fans, and it would take something away. But on the other hand, I think we're all craving these major sporting events, whether that's golf, football, whatever it might be. I think we're all craving that to be back. So do we take sacrifices? I don't know exactly what is the right answer, but yeah, I think the crowd is such a major part. I mean, it makes it enjoyable, but they have a part to play. Like, it's more in football where you have your home players. They do make a difference.
I tell you what, the Europeans going over to America, it would actually probably favour them to play it because there wouldn't be any like home support there.
Exactly. Well, yeah, obviously it has its difference, but I think all the you ask all the players, I think they enjoy playing in front of those big crowds. I would have thought the majority of them. I know from the perspective as a caddy, I mean, yeah, it's amazing when the crowds are either on your side and obviously they go against you, but it's all just part of it. But yeah, I think it's going to be different, but unfortunately, it's the position we're all in, and we're going to have to adapt.
Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, from every single caddy's point of view that's involved with the Ryder Cup or any tour event, we want it to go on, so you guys can get back out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the other thing, is that everyone's craving sport again, and to be able to play it themselves and to actually be able to watch it. So I think that's the tough scenario.
Who do you support with football?
Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh, that's all right. So this Premier League can be cancelled then. I thought you were going to say Liverpool or something.
I've got plenty of Liverpool friends who are Liverpool fans. I'm sure they're not open for that.
No. Okay, I want to get into the Masters because you were on the bag for Danny Willett when he won the Masters in 2016. I remember watching that coming down the stretch. First question I want to get into is to do with you really on caddying. The 12th hole is notoriously known for being hard to pick a golf club. The wind looks like it's coming this way, then it comes this way. You see the players before you go in the water, and it must just throw your head and the player's head into an absolute spiral.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, we've all seen it over the years, and you've seen some guys play it well, some guys have nightmares, and yeah, I mean, it's a really funky little hole, and you play in the practice rounds, and you'll stand there, anyone could go and play it, and you'd be like, what's the big deal? But when you're in the tournaments, you know, some days you'll get there and okay, the wind's pretty consistent, but if you get a day where it's swirling around down there, you're just in real bother. And yeah, you do try and hit it down that bunker line, and to left flags you can be a little bit more aggressive, but it's just a small area to hit when the wind just flickers up. Because I've been in a 3-ball there with Ryan Moore and Sergio one year, and Ryan Moore was up first, and he was probably, I don't know, half a club shorter than Dan. Stood up there to a front left flag, and he's just tried to hit a little 9-iron, and the wind should have been in out the right. Anyway, this thing's pitched in the flowers at the back. Me and Dan are looking at each other thinking, well, we thought we had a high club. And so we're thinking, right, well, what do we do? So obviously, as a caddy, you're trying to make committed decisions so your players got confidence. But behind that, they probably know it's one of those fully 100%.
Do you have that conversation then? You're a bit like, what do we do kind of thing? Or do you try and keep as cool and kind of calm and collected as you can?
Yeah, 100%. Like you'd try your best never to show to players that, yeah, this wind's moving all over the place. It's more like making firm, committed decisions. So you just give them confidence, and, you know, at least you're hitting a shot confidently.
Yeah.
Then if it goes in the, you know, if it goes long, if it goes short, they can turn around, and then that's on us. You know, we've backed our decision, and then that's on us. But yeah, I think if you're rumming on it, well, I don't really know where wind is because it's just switched on him, and then, you know, obviously that's not filling.
No.
But yeah, I mean, we've stood up after Ryan Moore and absolutely gunned wedge and pitched it front edge. So now Sergio's got to go. So he's seen a guy at a little 9-iron in the flowers at the back. We've smoked wedge and hit it front edge, and Sergio's probably half a club, maybe the same as Dan, longer, and he's at wedge back edge, and that's all in a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And it's just awkward. It's just awkward. So when you are watching it, you've got to realize, guys, it's not as simple as just a 150, 260 yard shot.
So would you rather go first on that hole, or would you rather be last? Would you rather learn from the rest of them, or just go, right, this is our decision, we're going?
It's a weird one, because you could walk on that tee and you could be, say, you're second up, and you're fairly confident. You say, so for example, say the wind is in out the right, and you're like, wow, it's perfect. It's just a normal 9-iron, for example. And then the guy goes first, and it's 9-iron straight over the back. Well, that kind of throws more doubt. And sometimes you feel like you just rather go first, and at least you are committing to something. Whereas other holes, I think, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a benefit not to go first.
Yeah.
But that one, I don't think it makes a difference, unfortunately.
Okay, so at that moment, you went into the final round, a couple of shots. Was it 3 or 4 shots off the lead?
Yeah, I think we were 3 shots behind.
3 shots off the lead. Now, what moment did you think, right, we've got a chance to win this now?
I think the trouble was we'd had a decent front 9. I think we shot 2 under on the front 9, which was great. I mean, Dan had plenty of chances, and we'd not kind of taken some of the ones we'd hoped to, but we'd had a good front 9 because it was playing tricky that week. But then we got to the turn, thought we had a bit of a chance, but then you get to the leaderboard on 10 and you see Jordan's flying, and you think, right, okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in the back of our heads, we're thinking, right, we're in chance for a great result in the Masters, and you just keep pushing. But it was when we walked off 15. When we walked off 15 and we saw the scoreboard change, that's when obviously we went from being behind to being instantly in the lead. And that's kind of when, yeah, obviously we knew then it was in our hands within reason, even though Westy had just chipped in for eagle and was only 1 behind.
How would you keep things normal? I mean, are you one to look at leaderboards? Was Danny one to look at leaderboards? Do you try and keep things as normal? Game plan stays the same?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, when I was working for Dan, we were always very aggressive. We'd always try and take things on if we could, not be stupid, but being aggressive. Because Dan had a great short game. So, albeit around Augusta, you don't want to be. There's certain places you just can't be short-sided. but there's certain places you don't mind. So we were always quite aggressive, and we just kind of stuck to that. Don't get me wrong, the thoughts that were going through our head, I'm sure, were completely different because we were leading all of a sudden. But in what we were trying to do, I'd say it was, I mean, from my part, we were trying to keep it exactly the same.
Yeah. And what was the hardest shot that you had to kind of deal with coming down that stretch? Was it one that you stuck out and you're thinking, just please go somewhere where you want it to go?
Yeah. I mean, 16, Dan's hit an amazing shot in there, if everyone remembers that, and he's hitting to like 6 feet. But again, we've walked up to a good number, so we're not kind of chipping a 7 or, you know, busting it. We're just hitting a really good A time, which was perfect, worked out lovely for us. And so he's hit a really good shot there. 17, he's on the left edge of the fairway. He's had to move it around the trees a little bit, but it's probably 18th tee shot. I mean, it looked tight for me, caddy, and I can't imagine what it was like for Dan, because those trees, I'm sure, kind of work the way in a little bit more. So yeah, I think it was 18 for Dan as a player, but for me, I think every shot, you know, you're feeling a massive amount of pressure to not, because all of a sudden you're in the lead. So yeah, we're trying to stay aggressive, but you know, any mistake you're making at this point is costly.
So when you were working for him, were you pretty much, you chose the clubs yourselves, or you sounded off each other? How did it kind of work between the two?
Yeah, I think it sounds off each other. I mean, I'm sure other caddies you speak to or anyone else out there, I mean, 95% of the time you walk up, you work the number out, you know where the wind is, and you don't really have to say anything. You know what the club is. Yeah. We're only here probably for that other 5%.
Sure.
But we went through the same process every time. We tried to do the same thing, whether it was a bog standard 7-iron from the middle of the fairway, or whether it was something that needed a bit of discussion, was a bit awkward. So we just tried to keep the same processes all the time. But like I said, whether that was easy and obvious or whether it was a little bit tricky.
Now, I remember watching it, you guys had a bit of a wait, didn't you, in the clubhouse?
Yeah.
You're waiting for the rest to finish. Now, what's going through your head there? You're thinking, you're watching the TV, like what's happening there?
Yeah, it was really, I mean, from my perspective, it was really weird. We've not been in a position anything like that before. Walking off, and yet the first instance when we were walking off 18, I just remember the crowds being ridiculous, walking through this narrow passage and cameras being like following us all the way to where Dan marks his card. And then I was really kind of disoriented. Like, I didn't really know what was going on. I was like, right, we're leading. I know we've got a few shot lead. And then you start, Dan signed his card, and then I start looking at leader. Well, yeah, if he birdies 3 at next 4, and then Dustin's still got a chance. And you just start thinking worst case scenario. And it's like, right, okay, let's prepare for a playoff worst case. I mean, you hope it doesn't go to that, but so yeah, I think I would have thought if your mind races, that's when it does. So yeah, I mean, honestly, all sorts go through your head, all sorts.
Because I remember on the TV, it didn't really show you guys going out to prepare for a playoff. Were you just waiting to see what happened on a few holes, and then you were going to go straight to the range?
Yeah, just waiting, because obviously we still knew it was going to take something really good from either Jordan or Dustin. I think when Dustin made bogey on 17, we knew he couldn't do it. And then obviously I think Jordan birdied 15, had a good chance for birdie on 16. And then obviously when he bogeyed 17, it was done. But yeah, you just constantly thinking worst case. So I mean, obviously if it had been a touch closer and he maybe only needed 1 birdie in the last 3, then we might have headed to the range, but luckily it wasn't as close as that.
I want to get into just your caddying and the role of a caddy now. Now, you've caddied for Danny Willett, Lucas BJERREGAARD, Branden GRACE, some great names. Now currently caddying for Rasmus HØJGAARD. I hope I've pronounced his surname right there.
Yeah.
I mean, he won early this year the Afra Bank Mauritius Open. Now, he's only 19, am I right in saying that?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Only 19 years old. I know you just started caddying for him, but is he potentially a Ryder Cup star of the future, someone to look out for?
Yeah, I mean, I've only worked for him for 2 weeks, but what shocked me is his, he's just turned 19, and his understanding of the game is so impressive for someone so young. Don't get me wrong, he's got a golf game to match it,
Yeah.
but his understanding of everything that goes into it and what he wants to do is very, very impressive. So that's kind of what shocked me. I know what I was like at 18 when I was
Yeah.
a tour pro, and I guarantee I don't think as clearly as he does. So yeah, that's kind of what's really shocked me and impressed me. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I've only done 2 weeks, and we had a nice start the first week. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of frustrating, obviously.
Yeah.
2 weeks, then looks like 4 months off or whatever it's going to be, and yeah, so I think we're both looking forward to getting back out there.
Sure. I mean, he looks like a great talent for the future. Almost like I said, I remember one of the commentators when I was watching the golf. It's like he's got an old head on young shoulders, kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. Some of the youngsters coming through it each year they're just getting really impressive, and the information that's out there now, there's no shortage of information.
No.
So I think that must be helping at some point. The fact that what they're exposed to early is a lot of quality information, and that's kind of showing when they come through, I think.
So you mentioned your role as a caddy. You said you're only really there for the other 5%. But there must have been a situation where you think, and you've had to discuss with the player, and you're like, no, it's this club, it's not that one. Could you nail one down for me, the best club you've ever given as a caddy? And I know some caddies don't like saying it because it's obviously their player and their decision, but if you had to nail one down.
I can tell you plenty of bad ones I've given. I think they're the ones you remember. Yeah, I don't know. I think I can't say specifically one, but I mean, there's certain courses that, Sun City, the wind swirls. So, as we discussed, about the 12th at Augusta, Sun City's like that every hole, and the targets are tiny. And so you're just giving clubs, and you're discussing clubs, and you're trying to give a reason for why you think it is something. So every time you could be out, but I can't think of one that I go, oh yeah, I'm really like,
yeah.
But yeah, it's probably easier to tell you about the bad ones.
Okay, but give us a bad one then, if you want to do that. If you want to.
I think, yeah, I think maybe talking. I don't know if Dan would agree with this, but talking Danny to it in 3 wood off 8. 3 wood off 8 on the last day in 2016 is not something many people do, and it's so he could kind of hit into that left side and just hit 5 wood on the green, and I think that caught him off guard. But yeah, it's not really anything major. It was just something really different, and I'm sure plenty of the caddies he'll tell you when they're putting the neck on the lines and going against the player.
Yeah,
I think until it's hit and it's come down hopefully where you want, I think they're all a bit nervous.
How would you go about that as a caddy? Like, for guys watching here, people don't. I'm not disappointed in this, but I am actually. I think the TV coverage should show a bit more the dialogue between you and player. I think it's a great insight. Maybe only when it's going good, maybe not when it's going bad. But I think it's a great insight. So how would you go about like saying, right, no, I think it's this club? Is it a bit more of trying to sell a shot to them rather than a club?
Well, yes and no, because ultimately, it's a player's. It's all well and good me saying it's a 5-iron when they want to hit a 6, but if they're struggling to see that 5-iron, sometimes it's better to let them hit the 6 simply because they're just not seeing that shot, and chances are it's not going to be a good one. So it's just a discussion to see whether they see the shot that you're talking about, and just giving a reason for why you think it is. I don't think it's a matter of saying, well, it's 5-iron.
No.
There's got to be a case behind it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, just to give them a bit of confidence in why you're telling them to do something. But ultimately, it's the player's decision. But I think the first question I'd ask is kind of, what are you seeing?
Yeah.
Because your gut instinct is usually always right, unless, like I say, the wind's messing around or there's something that we need to be playing away from. But I think there's definitely in my opinion, there's definitely a dialogue. It's not just it's a 7-9.
Yeah, I think that's true. Just in the sense that we had another caddy on the other day, and he was speaking about the fact that he was saying there's not a point where he's ever gone, this is it, this is not it. It's more like you said there, what shot are you seeing? Is it this? Is it that? And I was trying to think of his name, like Steve Brotherhood. Plays 40 at the minute, and he was saying the same thing as you, and it shows. Obviously, you've won a few times. You've won a major as a caddy. He's won a few times as well as a caddy, and it's seeing some common denominators here between caddies that have been successful and saying similar things.
Yeah, I think I was saying this to someone the other day. I think everyone's got their own way of doing the job, and it's okay. We all do a very similar job, but everyone's got different ways of putting it across, or whatever it might be. And what works for one player won't work for someone else, and it's our job to adapt to the player as best we can. Some guys like a lot of information, and they take confidence from having all the information before they hit the shot. Other guys, it'd be the worst thing you could do. It just scrambles their heads, and they go. It takes away that natural ability to see a shot and play it. But ultimately, you have to have a discussion. I think you have to have a discussion and talk about what you're doing, because ultimately you're going to hit a better shot because you've got a reason for what you're doing, and then at least you're not hitting a shot and going, well, I didn't really commit to that because I didn't really feel it was the right thing, or whatever it might be.
And then it's definitely your neck on the line. Exactly. Okay, so what do you think the main role of a caddy is? What would you have to say it is?
All right. I think we've got. I mean, ultimately, our job is to make the players score better. We are, how big a part we play is hard to quantify. We have just got to improve those scores, and whether I don't think that's done in a full shot at a time. I think it's kind of quarter of a shot, maybe here and there, and hopefully as the week goes on or the round goes on, that builds up. But whether it's keeping them to a game plan, whether it's making sure we're not making mistakes biting the wrong club, all those sort of things, there's kind of a lot that goes into it. It's just helping them manage the game around the golf course to make the best score. Is kind of how I'd describe it.
I just want to go into your golf game, because you're a pretty handy golfer yourself, aren't you? Because I remember, I'm going back to TV. It sounds like I've been stalking here. Didn't you play the Alfred Dunhill, Danny, the year that you won the Masters?
Yeah, we did. So no, that was a great week. It was just we had such fun. We didn't take anything serious, and we just had a real good laugh. So that was for me, that was really special, because before I was a caddy, I wanted to be obviously wanted to play, and that's as close as I'll get to ever playing a European Tour event without playing it myself.
You're a scratch golfer, aren't you?
Yeah, probably not so anymore. It's a bit hit and miss, but I enjoy it. I'm trying to get back into it, and when I used to play, I used to kind of take it a bit too serious and beat myself up. Now I just go out and try my best to enjoy it. The trouble is, obviously, I'm used to telling guys where to hit it, and I look up and it goes exactly where I've told them. When I go and kind of got a 4-iron, I'm trying to cut into a back right flag, it kind of doesn't work out.
Why aren't you doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. On the next question here that we've got, what's the best and worst things about tour life? Because a lot of people will see, especially when you're caddying at the very pinnacle of the game, that always nice hotels, always nice meals. But I think it's not just that, is it? There's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think there's weeks that guys will look forward to through the year, and weeks that they're not a fan of. But the positives for me is you being involved in the highest level of the sport. You get to meet some amazing people, and you're probably about as close to doing it yourself as you can. You're inside the rope, still feeling that pressure. the bad sides are, you know, if you've got family or whatever it might be, you spend a lot of time away from home, and I think if you're on a bad run, that makes it tough. I think, you know, it can beat you up a little bit, but there's plenty of highs to go along with it. And when the job's going well, it's amazing. It really is. So, yeah.
It's probably well, obviously when your player's playing well, it's probably one of the easiest things to do, isn't it? It's just
yeah, it's great. Both working well together, you know, you're working out, you know, and yeah, it's really good. And like I say, you go to some special places, you see a lot of the world, see different cultures, and it's a really fortunate, privileged lifestyle when it's going well. Yeah.
Outside the Masters, what's your favourite tournament?
I'm actually going to say Wentworth. I know the majors are amazing, the British Open's mega, but Wentworth's just got a really great feel about it. I'm not sure why, but the feel at Wentworth is amazing. I think a lot of players and caddies look forward to that event. We're looked after amazing, and the course is tough. You know, it's had a little bit of stick over the years, but it always provides a good winner, and it always provides excitement. And yeah, I really love Wentworth. Really love Wentworth.
Because there's a few years where it got some real stick from the players as well about the greens, wasn't it? Where was it maybe 2 or 3 years ago now, where the players weren't happy at all?
Yeah, and now they've put all sub air in, and they're amazing. There's some of the best greens we play all year, and when it gets firm and fast, you really have to pick your way around. And you know, another place where the wind kind of messes around, and it's an exciting finish. You're finishing with 2 par 5s.
Yeah.
It's really good. And I don't know, the crowds are all crammed in. I know when you kind of up 13, when you look back down the fairway and see all the crowd, it's mega. It's just a great atmosphere.
Especially if you're caddying for a Brit as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think obviously I'm probably a bit biased, obviously being from England and stuff, but it is just a really, really good event.
Class.
Really.
So going into, I mean, I saw you had a podcast the other day, didn't you, on From Nothing to Scratch podcast about how you get into caddying. We'll leave a link down here, guys, as well, if you want to check that out. But tell me a little bit, how did you get into caddying?
Yeah, so I used to play all county golf and everything like that, and grew up with Dan and other players that have kind of made it onto tour. I kind of had a go at turning pro, not gone how I wanted, and Dan asked me to do one event for him in Morocco just as a one-off. Met some other guys out there, Ricey being one of them, who's a caddy, and I was kind of going back and trying to play a little bit, doing the odd jobs here and there, and yeah, he called me on a Sunday evening saying Branden GRACE is looking for a caddy on the Challenge Tour. Do you want to do it? I said, yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, we'll give it a whirl. And flew out Tuesday morning to Italy, and it was kind of like a 1-2 week trial, and ended up doing the full season for him, and then working on to European Tour. So it kind of came out of the blue, and obviously, you know, never looked back from there. But I think, you know, I said on that podcast the other day, everyone kind of got different ways of how to get on. There's no official way or anything like that. But yeah, no, it was great. And I'm, you know, like I said the other day, it was great being on the Challenge Tour and kind of learning the job a little bit. I really needed that.
Because people might look at it now and say it's, especially like caddying for someone who's at the top of the game inside the world's top 50, it's pretty much a closed book up there, really, like from the outside looking in.
Yeah, well, in a sense, yeah. But I think if you're doing a good job and people notice you and you're out, and you know, I guess players have got an eye on what they're looking for and who they might want to caddy for them. And you've got to remember the guys at the top, they're doing well, so there's not much reason to be changing caddies.
Sure.
But you've got to remember there's a lot of talent coming through. There's a lot of great golfers coming through. And you don't know when someone's going to crack it, and hopefully you can help them in whatever way that might be to get into that top 50. So.
you know, looking at the younger players, and I know you're caddying for a young guy now from Denmark. And do you keep your eye on like Challenge Tour? Do you keep your eye on these sort of things? Or do the management companies come and contact you?
I think it's probably management groups kind of contacting you, or whatever jobs become available. Again, it's weird how kind of jobs come about, and it's kind of a bit of a mix and match. I mean, you kind of probably not looking, you know, unless you're out of a job, and sometimes you're out of a job for months, sometimes you're out of a job for a week, whatever that might be. And I get as much as players might be looking for caddies that they think they'd work well with. Caddies are probably looking at players and thinking, well, yeah, I think I could maybe work well with him, or whatever that might be. So like I say, it's with so much talent coming through, there's a lot of opportunities for people. So
I'm only speculating here, but when do we think we'll be back? When will we be back?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully August, I guess. Hopefully beginning of August. America looks like it's going to be sooner. Whether that's going to be behind closed doors or whatever it might be. I think everyone's dying to get back, but they know there's no point in rushing, because if it all kicks off again, it's going to put us back even further. But yeah, hopefully it's fairly soon. I think everyone's craving some golf.
I know I certainly am craving to watch something on TV apart from reruns of Shell's Wonderful World of Golf and stuff.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
And thanks so much for your time this afternoon, Jonathan. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much. And thanks, guys, for joining in on the Golf Chat Show live today. As always, if you did enjoy this content, please do hit that subscribe button, as well as all the links that I'll put down below. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m.